I watched my sister try on her third wedding dress of the day, while our parents gushed over every sequin and pearl, and I realized I was about to lose the only home I'd ever known. My name is Presley, and I'm 28 years old, 3 years older than Kylie, though you'd never know it from how our family operates. I've been the responsible one since I could walk, the one who remembered to pay bills, the one who sacrificed her college fund to keep the lights on when Dad got laid off. But none of that mattered when Kylie announced she needed $50,000 for her dream wedding. "Oh, honey, you look absolutely radiant!" Mom clasped her hands together as Kylie twirled in front of the mirror. The dress cost more than I made in 2 months. "I love it, but I still think the Vera Wang we saw yesterday was more me," Kylie said, examining herself from every angle. "What do you think, Daddy?" Dad beamed at her like she'd just discovered the cure for cancer. "Whatever makes my little princess happy." I stood in the corner of the bridal boutique, invisible as always. The sales associate had stopped offering me champagne an hour ago. "The wedding is going to be perfect," Mom continued, "especially once we close on the house next month. The timing couldn't be better." My stomach clenched. They were selling our childhood home, the house where Grandma Charlie had raised Dad, where she'd taught me to bake her famous apple pie, where she'd whispered stories about our family's history late into the night. The house I'd been secretly keeping afloat with my own money for the past 5 years. "I can't wait to see Brody's face when he sees me walking down that aisle," Kylie said, still admiring herself. "It's going to be the wedding of the century. So, speaking of which..." Mom turned to me with that look, the one that meant I was about to be voluntarily volunteered for something. "Presley, you'll need to start looking for apartments soon. The closing is scheduled for the 15th. "That's 3 weeks away," I said quietly. "I know it's sudden, but the buyers are paying cash and want to move quickly. You understand?" No, I didn't understand. I didn't understand how they could sell the house without even asking me. I didn't understand how Kylie's wedding had somehow become more important than the roof over our heads. I didn't understand how I'd become the expendable one in my own family. "Maybe Presley could find a nice little studio apartment," Kylie suggested, not looking away from her reflection. "Something cozy. You don't need much space anyway, right, Prez?" The sales associate returned with another dress. "This one just came in from Milan. It's absolutely stunning." As Kylie disappeared into the dressing room again, I excused myself and stepped outside. The October air was crisp, matching the chill that had settled in my chest. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through apartment listings, each one smaller and more expensive than the last. That's when I remembered Grandma Charlie's words from the night before she died. I was 23, sitting beside her hospital bed, holding her weathered hand. "The house is safe," she'd whispered, her voice barely audible. "I made sure of it. The papers are in the old jewelry box in my bedroom. Promise me you'll remember." I'd promised, but in my grief, I'd forgotten. Until now. I walked back into the boutique where Kylie was modeling dress number 4, this one with a train so long it could carpet a small room. "What do you think of this one, Presley?" she asked, though her tone suggested she didn't actually care about my opinion. "It's beautiful," I said automatically. "I think this might be the one," she announced. "It's perfect for the photos. The cathedral will look amazing in the background." Mom and Dad exchanged excited glances. "Whatever you want, sweetheart," Dad said. "This is your special day." As I watched my family plan the wedding that would cost me my home, I felt something shift inside me. They thought the house was already as good as gone. They thought I'd just quietly disappear into some cramped apartment while they celebrated Kylie's happiness with the proceeds from our family legacy. They had no idea what was waiting for them in Grandma Charlie's old jewelry box. I smiled for the first time all day. You're right, Kylie. It's going to be perfect. The next morning, I found Mom and Dad at the kitchen table with a stack of real estate brochures and a laptop open to apartment listings. Oh, good. You're up, Mom said without looking at me. I found some lovely places for you to look at. This one has a Murphy bed, very space efficient. She turned the screen toward me. The apartment looked like a glorified closet. Mom, I need to talk to you about the house sale. What about it? Everything's moving along perfectly. The buyers are so excited. They're a young couple, just like your father and I were when we bought this place. Dad nodded enthusiastically. Edmund, the real estate agent, says they might even close early if we're flexible. But this is our family home. Grandma Charlie's home. Mom's expression hardened. Presley, we've been over this. The house is too big for us now, and Kylie needs this wedding. She's only getting married once. Hopefully, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. Kylie bounced into the kitchen, wearing her silk pajamas, the expensive ones Brody had bought her from that boutique downtown. Are we still talking about Presley's living situation? I saw the cutest studio yesterday when Brody and I were looking at venues. It had exposed brick. I don't want exposed brick. I want to stay here. Kylie poured herself coffee and added 3 sugars. Prez, you have to understand. This wedding is important. It's not just about me and Brody. It's about our families coming together. His parents are flying in from California. We can't have some tiny, cheap wedding. So, I have to give up my home for your party. It's not a party. It's the most important day of my life. Kylie's voice rose to that pitch it always hit when she wasn't getting her way. God, why do you have to be so selfish? Mom immediately jumped to Kylie's defense. Presley, that's enough. Your sister has been planning this wedding for months. The least you can do is be supportive. I've been supportive my entire life. What's that supposed to mean? Dad asked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. When had he gotten so grey? When had he started looking so tired? Nothing, Dad. Forget it. After they left for work, I drove to the county clerk's office. The woman behind the counter looked bored as she pulled up the property records on her computer. Here we go. 1247 Maple Street. Current owner is... She squinted at the screen. Presley Underwood. That's you? My heart hammered in my chest. Yes, that's me. Looks like the deed was transferred in 2019. You've been the legal owner for 5 years. 5 years. I'd been paying the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, all while my family treated me like a tenant they were eager to evict. I drove home and went straight to Grandma Charlie's old bedroom. Mom had turned it into a craft room, but she'd kept Grandma's antique jewelry box on the dresser. My hands shook as I opened it. There, underneath a tangle of costume jewelry and old photographs, was a manila envelope with my name, written in Grandma's careful handwriting. Inside were copies of the deed transfer, a letter from her lawyer, and a note in her handwriting. For Presley, who loves this house as much as I do. Keep it safe. I sat on the bed and read through everything twice. Grandma had quietly transferred the house to me the year before she died, when she was worried about Dad's gambling problem and Mom's spending. She'd made me the sole owner, but she'd asked the lawyer to keep it quiet until it was necessary. Well, it was necessary now. My phone buzzed with a text from Kylie. found the perfect flowers for the centerpieces, only $200 per table. Dad said yes. $200 per table, for flowers that would be thrown away the next day. I pulled up my banking app and looked at my savings account, the money I'd been setting aside for a down payment on my own place someday. Except I already owned a place. I'd been living in my own house for 5 years without knowing it. Another text from Kylie. Also booked the string quartet. This is going to be amazing. I walked downstairs and found the stack of mortgage payment receipts I kept in the kitchen drawer. 5 years of payments. 5 years of keeping this house afloat while my family planned to sell it out from under me. The front door opened and Mom walked in with shopping bags. "Oh, Presley. Perfect timing. I picked up some boxes for you to start packing. The sooner you get organized, the easier this will be." She set the empty boxes on the floor at my feet like she was doing me a favor. "Thanks, Mom. Very thoughtful." I also called that apartment complex on 5th Street. They have a unit available November 1st. It's a little pricey, but I'm sure you can make it work. I picked up one of the boxes and smiled. "You know what? You're absolutely right. I should definitely start packing." The house showing started the next week. I came home from work to find strangers walking through my bedroom, Mom trailing behind them like a tour guide. "And this room has such lovely natural light," she was saying to a couple in matching fleece jackets. "Perfect for a nursery or home office." I stood in the doorway holding my work bag, watching them examine my space like they were already planning where to put their furniture. "Excuse me," I said. The couple looked startled. "Oh, this is my daughter, Presley," Mom said quickly. "She's just gathering her things." The woman smiled politely. "It's a beautiful room. You must hate to leave it. Actually, She's very excited about her new apartment," Mom interrupted, shooting me a warning look. "Aren't you, honey?" The couple moved on to inspect the bathroom. Mom grabbed my arm. "What are you doing? You can't just stand there looking miserable. These people are serious buyers." "Good for them." "Presley, I'm warning you." "Warning me what? That you'll kick me out of my own house?" Mom's face flushed. "This is not your house. This is the family house, and we've made a family decision." I pulled my arm free. When exactly was this family meeting? Because I don't remember being invited. That evening, Kylie arrived for dinner with Brody in tow. He was carrying a bottle of expensive wine and wearing that eager-to-please smile he always had around my parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Underwood, thank you so much for having me," he said, kissing Mom's cheek. "Kylie told me about the house sale. That must be exciting." "It really is," Dad said, opening the wine. "New chapter for all of us." "Where will you and Kylie live after the wedding?" I asked. Brody beamed. "We found this amazing condo downtown. 2 bedrooms, granite countertops, gym in the building. Kylie fell in love with it. It has a walk-in closet the size of Presley's current bedroom," Kylie added, not looking at me. We sat down to dinner, take out Chinese food on Mom's good china, because apparently we were too busy planning Kylie's future to cook. "So, Brody," I said, passing him the lo mein, "how do you feel about Kylie's wedding costing $50,000? He nearly choked on his wine. "Well, I mean, it's a lot, but it's worth every penny," Kylie said firmly. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime event." "Right, but $50,000 could buy a lot of things, like, say, a down payment on a house." "Presley." Mom's voice carried that edge that meant I was pushing too far. "I'm just saying, It's interesting how we can find 50,000 for a party, but we can't find a way to keep the family home. Brody looked uncomfortable. Maybe we could scale back some of the... No, Kylie cut him off. We are not scaling back anything. This is my dream wedding, and I've waited my whole life for it. Your whole 25 years, I said. What is your problem? Kylie slammed her fork down. Why can't you just be happy for me? I am happy for you. I'm just wondering why your happiness always comes at everyone else's expense. That's not true, isn't it? When you wanted to go to that expensive art school, who worked 2 jobs to help pay for it? When you crashed Dad's car, who covered the insurance deductible? When you couldn't make rent last year, who... Enough! Mom stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. Presley, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but this jealousy is ugly and it needs to stop. Jealousy. Yes, jealousy. Your sister is getting married, and instead of being supportive, you're trying to ruin it. I looked around the table. Dad was staring at his plate. Brody was studying the wine label like it contained the secrets of the universe. Kylie was glaring at me with tears in her eyes. I'm not trying to ruin anything, I said quietly. I'm trying to save something. The house is just a house, Presley, Dad said finally. Family is what matters. Then why are you selling it to pay for Kylie's party? It's not a party, Kylie shrieked. God, you're so bitter and jealous and... I'm done. I stood up and grabbed my keys from the counter. Where are you going? Mom demanded. To see a lawyer. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Kylie laughed, but it sounded forced. A lawyer? What are you going to do? Sue us for emotional distress? I paused at the door and looked back at my family. Something like that. I drove straight to Cassandra's office. She was working late, as usual, her desk covered with legal briefs and empty coffee cups. Presley, what are you doing here? I pulled the deed from my purse and placed it on her desk. I need your help. She picked up the document and read it carefully, her eyebrows rising higher with each line. Holy shit, she whispered. You own the house? Apparently I have for 5 years. And they're trying to sell it? Closing is in 2 weeks. Cassandra leaned back in her chair and smiled, the same smile she wore in court when she was about to destroy the opposing counsel. Well, she said, this is going to be fun. The next morning, I found a sold sign planted in our front yard like a victory flag. Mom was on the porch with her coffee, beaming at it. Isn't it wonderful? She called out as I got out of my car. Edmund called this morning. The buyers increased their offer by 10,000. They really want the house. How nice for them. The closing is moved up to Friday. Can you believe it? Just 5 days away. I walked past her into the house, where Dad was on the phone with someone, laughing. Yes, we're thrilled, he was saying. Kylie's going to have the wedding of her dreams. What's that? Oh, Presley will figure something out. She's very resourceful. He hung up and grinned at me. That was your Aunt Linda. She's so excited about the wedding. She said she can't wait to see the photos. Great. You should probably take the day off tomorrow to pack. I know it's short notice, but... Actually, Dad, I took the whole week off. His face lit up. That's my girl. See? I told your mother you'd be reasonable about this. That afternoon, Kylie burst through the front door with 3 bridesmaids in tow, all of them carrying dress bags and chattering about flowers and centerpieces. Ladies, welcome to Chaos Central, Kylie announced. We have exactly 4 days to finalize everything. Her maid of honor, Jessica, looked around the living room. It's so sad that you're losing the house. Where will your parents live? Oh, they're getting a cute little townhouse across town, Kylie said, hanging her dress bag on the stair railing. Much more practical for their age. And where's Presley moving? Some apartment. I don't really know the details. I walked into the room carrying a box of old photo albums. Hi, Jessica. Nice to see you again. Presley, how are you holding up? This must be so hard. I'm managing. Kylie barely glanced at me. We need to clear out the living room for the dress fitting. Can you take your boxes somewhere else? Sure thing. I carried the box upstairs and called Cassandra. How's Operation Scorched Earth coming along? She asked. The closing is Friday. They moved it up. Perfect. That gives us less time for them to figure out what's happening. I've prepared all the paperwork. The buyer's lawyer is going to have a very interesting morning. Cassandra, what if... What if what? You feel guilty? Presley, they're selling your house without your permission. Your house, that you've been paying for, while they treat you like garbage. I know, but nothing. You've spent your entire life putting their needs first. When do you get to matter? That evening, Brody came over for dinner alone. Kylie was at her bachelorette party, which apparently involved a limo and a wine tour. Where's the bride-to-be? Mom asked. Living it up in Napa Valley, Brody said, but he didn't sound happy about it. She said she needed one last night of freedom. Dad poured him a beer. Cold feet? Not exactly. It's just everything's happening so fast. The wedding, the house sale, all the expenses. What expenses? I asked. Brody looked uncomfortable. Well, the wedding, obviously, but also the honeymoon and the new furniture for our place, and Kylie wants to redo the kitchen in the condo before we move in. Oh, how much is all that costing? Presley, Mom warned. No, it's okay, Brody said. It's a lot. More than I expected. Kylie says we can afford it because of the house money, but I'm not sure that's how it works. What do you mean? Dad asked. I mean, the house money is for your retirement, right? And to help Presley get settled. It's not really our money. The room went quiet. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Well, Mom said slowly, we want to help the kids get started in life. But Kylie's talking about spending almost all of it. The wedding, the honeymoon, the renovations. She showed me the budget yesterday and I nearly had a heart attack. How much? I asked. Presley, that's not your concern, Mom said quickly. 80,000, Brody said. Total. Dad's beer bottle slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. 80,000. She said you guys were fine with it, that you wanted her to have everything she dreamed of. Mom was frantically cleaning up the beer and broken glass. We do want that. Of course we do, but you're not actually getting 80,000 from the house sale, I said. What do you mean? Brody asked. I mean, after the mortgage payoff, realtor fees, taxes, closing costs, they'll be lucky to clear 40,000. The color drained from Dad's face. 40,000. Did you not run the numbers? I asked. We thought... Edmund said... Mom looked panicked. Edmund gets paid whether you make money or not, I said. His commission comes off the top. Brody put his head in his hands. She's already put deposits down on everything. The venue, the caterer, the band. If we cancel now, we lose it all. How much in deposits? Dad asked weakly. 20,000. Mom sank into her chair. 20,000. I tried to tell her it was too much, But she said it was her dream wedding, and she'd only get one chance. Brody looked up at us. I love her, but I'm starting to think maybe we should postpone until we can afford it properly. You can't postpone, Mom said. The invitations are already sent. Then maybe we need to scale back, Dad said. Scale back. Mom's voice rose. This is our daughter's wedding. It's also our financial ruin, Dad said quietly. I stood up and started walking toward the stairs. Where are you going? Mom called. To pack? I said, like you told me to. But I wasn't going to pack my things. I was going to pack theirs. Thursday night, the house buzzed with frantic energy. Mom was on the phone with the caterer. Dad was in the garage loading boxes into his truck, and Kylie was having a meltdown in the kitchen. The flowers are wrong! She shrieked into her phone. I ordered white roses, not cream roses. There's a difference. I walked through the chaos carrying a box of my grandmother's china, the set Mom had promised to give me years ago, but somehow never got around to it. Presley, careful with that, Mom said, covering her phone. That's going to the storage unit. Actually, Grandma left this to me. We'll sort out the family heirlooms later. Right now, we need to focus on getting everything packed. I kept walking. The china was mine, and tomorrow everyone would know it. Brody arrived around 8, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Kylie immediately pounced on him. Did you pick up your tux? Did you confirm the limo? Did you call the photographer about the timeline? Kylie, breathe, he said. Everything's handled. Nothing's handled. The wedding's in 3 days and we still don't have a place to live after the honeymoon. What do you mean? Dad looked up from his packing. The condo fell through, Brody said quietly. The financing didn't work out. Kylie's face crumpled. We're going to be homeless. You're not going to be homeless, Mom said quickly. You can stay with us in the townhouse until you find something else. The townhouse is tiny. There's barely room for you and Dad. We'll make it work, Dad said, but he looked exhausted. This is a disaster, Kylie wailed. My wedding is ruined. Your wedding is not ruined, I said from the doorway. You're still getting married. You're still having your dream reception. You're still going to Italy for 2 weeks. But we have nowhere to live. You'll figure it out. You always do. Kylie stared at me. Why are you being so calm about this? Don't you care that our family is falling apart? Our family fell apart a long time ago. I'm just the last one to leave. The room went silent. Even the phone calls stopped. What's that supposed to mean? Mom asked. It means I'm tired of being the only one who cares about this family, while everyone else takes what they want. That's not fair, Dad said. Isn't it? When's the last time anyone asked what I wanted? When's the last time anyone considered how their decisions would affect me? We're doing this for the family, Mom said. No, you're doing this for Kylie, like you always do. Kylie's tears dried up instantly. I'm so sick of your martyr complex, Presley. Nobody forced you to be the responsible one. You're right. Nobody forced me. I chose to be responsible because somebody had to be. Well, congratulations. You win the Good Daughter Award. Now, can we please focus on the actual crisis here? I looked around the room, at the boxes, at the chaos, at my family scrambling to make Kylie's dreams come true while treating me like an inconvenience. You know what? You're absolutely right. Let's focus on the crisis. I pulled out my phone and called Cassandra. It's me, I said. Are you ready for tomorrow? Born ready. Everything's in place. Good. I'll see you at 9. I hung up and found everyone staring at me. Who was that? Mom asked. My lawyer. Your lawyer? Dad's voice cracked. Presley, what are you planning? I'm planning to protect my interests, just like you taught me. What interests? Kylie demanded. You don't have any interest in this house. I smiled. We'll see about that. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I walked through the house one last time. I touched the banister Grandma had polished every week, ran my fingers along the kitchen counter where she'd taught me to make pie crust, stood in the doorway of her bedroom where she'd told me stories about our family's history. I kept my promise, Grandma, I whispered. I kept the house safe. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Sleep well. Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. I looked out the window at the sold sign in the yard, illuminated by the streetlight. Tomorrow, that sign would come down. Tomorrow, my family would learn that some things can't be bought, sold, or taken away. Tomorrow, they'd learn that I wasn't the pushover they thought I was. I went to my room and pulled out the suitcase I'd packed earlier. Not with my belongings. Those were staying right where they belonged. I'd packed it with every mortgage payment receipt, every tax bill, every piece of documentation that proved I'd been keeping this house afloat while they planned to sell it. My phone rang. It was Kylie. Presley. I can't sleep. I keep thinking about what you said earlier. What about it? Do you really think our family is falling apart? I looked around my room. My room in my house that I'd been paying for while they treated me like a tenant. I think our family fell apart a long time ago, Kylie. Tomorrow we're just going to make it official. What does that mean? It means you should get some sleep. You have a big day ahead of you. I hung up and turned off the lights. In 12 hours, everything would change. Friday morning arrived grey and drizzly. I sat in my car outside the title company, watching my parents and the buyers walk into the building. Edmund, the real estate agent, was practically bouncing with excitement, probably already calculating his commission. My phone rang. You ready for this? Cassandra asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, let them get comfortable first. Let them think everything's going according to plan. And then? Then we blow up their world. I waited 15 minutes before walking into the building. The receptionist directed me to Conference Room B, where I could hear voices through the door. Just need a few more signatures and we'll be all set, Edmund was saying. I opened the door. Everyone looked up. Mom, Dad, Edmund, the buyers, a young couple who looked nervous, and the title company representative. Sorry I'm late, I said, taking the empty chair at the end of the table. Presley, what are you doing here? Mom asked. I wanted to say goodbye to the house properly. Dad smiled. That's sweet, honey. This is Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, the new owners. The Pattersons nodded politely. Mrs. Patterson looked like she was about my age, probably buying her first home. It's a beautiful house, she said. We're so excited to start our family there. I'm sure you are, I said. It's a wonderful place to raise children. Edmund shuffled through his papers. Well, let's get this wrapped up, shall we? Mr. and Mrs. Underwood, if you could just sign here. Dad reached for the pen. That's when I cleared my throat. Actually, before anyone signs anything, there's something we need to discuss. The room went quiet. What kind of something? Edmund asked, his smile faltering. I pulled out my folder and placed it on the table. There's been a mistake with the ownership documentation. What kind of mistake? The title rep asked, suddenly alert. The kind where the people trying to sell the house don't actually own it. You could have heard a pin drop. That's ridiculous, Mom said. Of course we own the house. We've lived there for 30 years. Living somewhere and owning it are two different things. I opened my folder and pulled out the deed. According to the county records, the legal owner of 1247 Maple Street is Presley Underwood. That's me. Edmund grabbed the document and stared at it. His face went white. This can't be right, Dad said. There must be some mistake. No mistake. Grandma Charlie transferred the deed to me in 2019. I've been the legal owner for 5 years. That's impossible, Mom said. We would have known. Would you? When's the last time either of you looked at the mortgage statements, the tax bills, the insurance paperwork? The silence stretched on. I don't understand, Mrs. Patterson said quietly. If you own the house, why are they trying to sell it? That's an excellent question. Dad was staring at the deed like it was written in a foreign language. Presley, if this is real, why didn't you tell us? When? When you were planning Kylie's wedding? When you were picking out apartments for me? When you were celebrating getting rid of your burden? We never said you were a burden, Mom protested. You didn't have to say it. Edmund was frantically typing on his phone. I need to call my broker. This is a problem. It's about to be a bigger problem, I said. That's when Cassandra walked in, carrying her briefcase and wearing her courtroom smile. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cassandra Kelly, Ms. Underwood's attorney. She placed a stack of papers on the table. These are formal notices of trespass. As the legal owner of the property, my client is requiring all current occupants to vacate within 30 days. Mom's face went from confusion to horror. Vacate? Presley, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. But we're your parents, Dad said. And I'm your daughter. The daughter you were planning to make homeless so Kylie could have her dream wedding. We weren't making you homeless, Mom said desperately. We found you apartments to look at. Apartments I couldn't afford on my salary. Apartments I'd have to live in while you spent the money from selling my house. The Pattersons were whispering to each other. Mrs. Patterson looked like she was about to cry. I'm so sorry, I said to them. This isn't your fault. You were lied to. Is there any way to still buy the house? Mr. Patterson asked hopefully. From me? Sure, but the price just went up significantly. Edmund's phone was ringing non-stop. He stepped outside to answer it. Presley, Dad said quietly, what do you want? I looked around the table at the chaos I'd created, at my parents' shocked faces, at the young couple whose dreams I'd just shattered. I want what I've always wanted, Dad. I want to matter. I want my home, and I want my family to stop treating me like I'm disposable. We don't treat you like you're disposable, Mom whispered. Then why am I the only one being asked to sacrifice everything for Kylie's happiness? Nobody had an answer for that. Cassandra gathered her papers. The eviction notices are legally binding. You have 30 days. As everyone filed out in stunned silence, Dad stopped at the door. Presley, please. We can work this out. Can we? Because from where I'm sitting, this is the first time in my life that anyone's actually listening to me. He left without another word. I sat alone in the empty conference room, staring at the deed with my name on it. I'd won. So why did it feel like I'd lost everything? I got home to find Kylie's car in the driveway and raised voices coming from inside. I walked through the front door to chaos. This is insane, Kylie was screaming at Mom and Dad. "She can't just steal our house." "She didn't steal it," Dad said weakly. "Apparently it's been hers for years." "Then why didn't she tell us? Maybe because we never asked," I said from the doorway. Kylie spun around, her face red and blotchy from crying. "You! How could you do this to me? My wedding is in 2 days." "Your wedding will be fine. You're still getting married." "With what money? We were counting on the house sale to pay for everything." "That sounds like poor financial planning." Kylie lunged at me, but Brody caught her arm. "Kylie, don't." "Let me go! She's ruining my life." "I'm not ruining anything. I'm protecting what's mine." "What's yours?" Mom's voice was shrill. "This is the family home. It belongs to all of us." "No, Mom. It belongs to me. Legally, financially, and morally. I'm the one who's been paying for it." "We didn't know," Dad said. "Because you didn't want to know. When did either of you ever ask how I could afford to live here on my salary? When did you ever wonder why the mortgage payments never bounced?" The room went quiet. "I've been covering the shortfall for 5 years," I continued. "Every month, when Dad's pension and Mom's part-time job weren't enough, I made up the difference. While you two were planning Kylie's future, I was keeping a roof over our heads." "We never asked you to do that," Mom said. "You never asked me not to either. You just let me do it while you pretended everything was fine." Brody stepped forward. "Presley, I get that you're angry, but kicking your parents out of their home seems extreme." "Is it? They were going to kick me out of mine." "That's different. They were going to help you find a place." "A place I couldn't afford, with money I didn't have, while they spent the proceeds from selling my house on your wedding." "It's not just about the wedding," Kylie said desperately. "We need that money for our future." "What about my future? What about the future I've been building in this house for the past 5 years?" "You could have told us," Dad said. When would have been a good time to tell you that I own the house? Before or after you put it on the market without asking me?" Mom sank into her chair. "This is all my mother's fault. She should have told us about the deed transfer. Grandma did what she thought was best. She saw what was happening to this family, and she protected what mattered most." "What's that supposed to mean?" Kylie demanded. "It means she saw Dad's gambling problem. She saw Mom's spending. She saw you treating everyone like your personal ATM, and she made sure the house would be safe." "Dad doesn't have a gambling problem," Kylie said. Dad's face went red. "Presley, that's enough. Is it? Should we talk about the poker games, the sports betting, the reason you really got laid off from your last job?" "Stop," Mom whispered. "Or should we talk about Mom's shopping addiction, the credit cards she hides, the reason we're always broke despite having 2 incomes?" "That's not true," Mom said, but her voice was shaking. "Isn't it? When's the last time you balanced a checkbook, Mom? When's the last time you knew how much money was in your account?" Brody looked uncomfortable. "Maybe I should go." "No, stay," I said. "You should know what you're marrying into. You should know that Kylie learned from the best when it comes to spending other people's money." "That's not fair," Kylie said. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I've been supporting this family while you planned your dream wedding? Is it fair that you never once asked how I felt about losing my home? Is it fair that you called me selfish for not wanting to be homeless?" "We weren't making you homeless. What would you call it?" The front door opened and Edmund walked in, looking frazzled. "I'm sorry to interrupt. But we have a problem. The buyers are threatening to sue for fraud. They're saying we misrepresented the ownership of the property." "We didn't know," Dad said. "That's not going to matter to their lawyer. They put down earnest money. They've already given notice at their apartment. They've arranged movers. This is a mess." "How much of a mess?" Mom asked. "Potentially 6 figures in damages." The room went silent again. "Unless," Edmund continued, "the actual owner is willing to sell." Everyone looked at me. "Well," Kylie said, "are you going to sell?" I looked around the room at my family, at their desperate faces, their obvious panic, their sudden interest in what I wanted. "That depends," I said. "What's it worth to you?" "What do you mean?" Dad asked. "I mean, you want me to sell my house to save you from a lawsuit and pay for Kylie's wedding. What are you offering me in return?" "You're our daughter," Mom said. "Family doesn't charge family. Family also doesn't sell each other's homes without permission. But here we are." I walked toward the stairs. "Where are you going?" Kylie called after me. "To my room, in my house, to think about whether I want to save the people who were perfectly willing to throw me away." I left them sitting in the wreckage of their assumptions, finally understanding that I wasn't the pushover they'd always believed me to be. I spent the weekend in my room while the chaos unfolded downstairs. Phone calls, arguments, tears. Kylie's wedding was tomorrow, and everything was falling apart. Sunday morning, there was a soft knock on my door. "Presley." It was Dad. "Can we talk?" I opened the door to find him standing there with 2 cups of coffee, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "I brought peace offerings," he said, holding up the cups. We sat on my bed, the same bed I'd had since I was 12, the same room they'd been planning to pack up and erase. "I've been thinking about what you said," Dad began. "About the gambling, about not paying attention to the bills, about letting you carry everything. And you're right, about all of it." He stared into his coffee. "I stopped looking at the mortgage statements because I was ashamed. Every month when that payment went through, I knew we didn't have enough, but somehow it always worked out, and I told myself it was luck." "It wasn't luck, Dad. It was me." "I know that now." He looked up at me. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because you didn't want to know. It was easier to pretend everything was fine than to admit you needed help from your daughter." He nodded slowly. "Your grandmother always said you were the strongest one in the family. I thought she meant emotionally. I didn't realize she meant financially, too. She knew what was coming. She saw the patterns." "The deed transfer. When did you find out about it?" "Last week, when you announced you were selling the house." Dad winced. "We should have talked to you first." "Yes, you should have." We sat in silence for a moment. Then he asked, "What do you want, Presley? Really want?" I looked around my room, at the life I'd built in this house, at the family photos on my dresser showing happier times. "I want to matter," I said. "I want my sacrifices to be acknowledged instead of ignored. I want to stop being treated like the family ATM." "And the house?" "The house is mine. That's not changing." He nodded. "Fair enough. What about your mother and me?" "What about you?" "The eviction notice. Do you really want us gone in 30 days? I studied his face, looking for the manipulation I'd grown used to, the guilt trips and emotional blackmail. But all I saw was exhaustion and genuine remorse. "That depends on whether you can live here as my tenants instead of treating me like yours." "Meaning?" "Meaning you pay rent, You contribute to utilities and maintenance. You stop making decisions about my house without consulting me. And Kylie's wedding? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Cassandra. "Turn on Channel 7, she said. "Now." I grabbed the remote and flipped to the local news. There was Edmund on screen, looking mortified, standing in front of our house. Real estate fraud investigation has been launched after it was discovered that the property was listed for sale by individuals who did not own it. The actual owner, who wishes to remain anonymous, has filed complaints with both the state licensing board and the district attorney's office. Dad's coffee cup slipped from his hands. Oh, God. My phone started ringing immediately. Mom's voice echoed from downstairs. "Presley, get down here right now!" I found the whole family in the living room, staring at the TV. Kylie was in her bathrobe, her face streaked with mascara. "You called the news?" Mom demanded. "I didn't call anyone, but fraud investigations are public record." "This is going to ruin us," Mom said. "Everyone will know. Everyone should know. Maybe it'll prevent other families from getting scammed by people who sell houses they don't own." Kylie looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "My wedding is in 6 hours. 6 hours, Presley. All my friends are going to see this." "Your wedding will be fine. You're marrying the man you love, surrounded by people who care about you. Isn't that what matters?" "Easy for you to say. You're not the one getting married in the middle of a scandal. No, I'm the one who's been living in the middle of a scandal for 5 years. The scandal of a family that takes and never gives back." Brody walked in from the kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear. "That was the venue," he said quietly. "They're asking if we want to cancel. They've seen the news." "We're not cancelling," Kylie said fiercely. "I don't care what anyone thinks." "Good," I said, "because I'm not cancelling either." Everyone stared at me. "Cancelling what?" Mom asked. I pulled out my checkbook and wrote out a check, then handed it to Kylie. "What's this?" she asked. $50,000, your wedding fund." The room went dead silent. "I don't understand," Kylie whispered. "It's simple. You're my sister, and despite everything, I love you. You deserve to have the wedding you want. But this is a gift, not an obligation, and it comes with conditions." "What conditions?" "You acknowledge that this house is mine. You stop treating me like I owe you something, and you start treating me like family instead of like hired help." Kylie stared at the check, tears streaming down her face. "Presley, do you accept the conditions?" She looked around the room at Mom and Dad, then back at me. Yes, I accept them." "Then go get married, and be happy." As Kylie ran upstairs to get ready, Mom approached me cautiously. "Where did you get $50,000? "I've been saving for a down payment on a house," I said. "Turns out I didn't need it." Dad shook his head in amazement. "You never stop surprising me." "I hope not. It keeps life interesting." That evening, I watched from the back of the church as Kylie walked down the aisle in her dream dress, radiant despite the morning's chaos. Mom and Dad sat in the front row, holding hands and crying happy tears. At the reception, Kylie found me during the cocktail hour. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything." "You're welcome." "I'm sorry it took me so long to see what you've been doing for us. Just don't forget again." She hugged me tightly. "I won't. I promise." As I watched my family celebrate, I realized something had shifted. The power dynamic that had ruled our lives for so long was finally balanced. I wasn't the invisible daughter anymore. I wasn't the family ATM or the responsible one who could be taken for granted. I was Presley, owner of the house on Maple Street, keeper of family secrets, and finally, someone who mattered. The house was still mine. My family was still complicated, but for the first time in my life, I was exactly where I belonged.